Hey everyone, I have some information here that I know is going to upset you, infuriate you, and just pretty much completely make you sick. After talking with one of my subscribers on my video where I was talking about them testing their vax in children, my subscriber, Blessed Be, left me this link and this information. So I want to thank you for leaving that information for me, giving that information to me, because it led me down a short rabbit hole for a few hours to dig up some information. This was the link that Blessed Be sent to me. Okay, it says, teen boy forced to take estrogen in juvie without parents' consent grew enlarged breast, lawsuit claims. This is from this year, July 15th. A 16-year-old boy was prescribed and pressured into taking estrogen as treatment while at a Los Angeles County juvenile hall. His parents are now suing, claiming they were never consulted or made aware of the doctor's decision. 2 days after being arrested and taken to Eastlake Juvenile Hall last June, the teenager, who is referred to as JN in the suit, his name is being kept private because he is a minor, was diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder, or ODD. A doctor at the juvenile facility prescribed estrogen as a treatment for the disorder, though the lawsuit describes this plan as highly experimental, since ODD is typically dealt with through therapy, and estrogen can have unintended consequences if given to the teenagers whose hormone levels will already be fluctuating. Medical records show the 16-year-old high school had high testosterone levels when he entered the juvenile hall, but this would be typical for a male his age. Yes, of course. After 13 doses of estrogen, he was supposed to receive 30. The boy was diagnosed with gynecomastia, which is the swelling or enlargement of the breast tissues in males when estrogen levels are too high. The condition led to teasing by others in the juvenile facility, and the teen also experienced mood swings and pimple breakouts all over his body. Poor kid. Despite being a minor, the boy's parents claim they were not only never informed of the estrogen treatment, but they were also not told about any sort of mental illness diagnosis. The boy's father discovered his son was taking pills 1 month after he had been incarcerated and was immediately furious. Oh, you ain't kidding. Oh man, can't imagine. When I found out they were giving him the pill, I was like, why didn't they ask me? He said. He's only 16, and they were forcing him to take it. The boy claims that even he was not told what the medication was, but that he was informed he could not refuse it, and felt pressured by the staff, including his own probation officer. Asked whether the doctor, Danny Wang, who prescribed the dubious treatment and made the original diagnosis, still remained employed, a Department of Health Services spokesperson would only say his current status is a confidential personal matter. The LA Times reported Wang first began working for the county in 2012. Wang and David O., medical director for Juvenile Court Health Services, are named specifically in the suit, which was filed last month, as co-defendants, along with the county itself. According to the boy's father, he spoke directly with O., who admitted to Wang making a mistake. Now out of the juvenile hall as of April, the teenage boy at the center of the debacle will require surgery to reverse his negative physical effects of the treatment. He is also said to be suffering from anxiety. He's like a different person, his father said. The LA County Board of Supervisors voted to reinstate funding for the Probation Oversight Commission, POC, last month over allegations the system is over-medicating and diagnosing teenagers, meaning more oversight is on the way. Yeah, of course, more oversight, but they're not going to do anything about it. In a 2015 study, it was found that over 90% of the kids under the care of the LA County Probation's supervision were diagnosed with a mental health issue, many of those mood disorders that were treated with medication. Wellesley Ouchie, the attorney representing the team prescribed estrogen, told Witness LA that little oversight in the system could mean his lawsuit reveals other teenagers given experimental treatments similar to his clients, which he describes as potentially criminal. You're darn right it's potentially criminal. It's evil. I just cannot even believe that this is what is going on. I mean, I see it, but it's just, even when you know how much evil is going on, you just can't even imagine when you read these stories that they're true. They're horrible. Okay, so I wanted to dig into this. I wanted to look more into this. Okay? I wanted to see if they've been doing this for years and years in the past. Maybe this isn't just a new thing that they've been doing, recently. And this is what I found. Under Anthony Fauci, foster children are being used as human guinea pigs in heinous medical experiments. This is actually an article from yesterday. It says, for many years, the American foster care system, in partnership with Child Protective Services, has been kidnapping children and in many cases handing them off to the government swamp agencies that use these little ones as human guinea pigs to test experimental drugs and vaccines without consent. And all this time, Anthony Fauci has been overseeing these heinous human rights abuses, allowing and even facilitating them to occur under his seemingly endless reign. An in-depth report put together by Brian Chivalry from Medical Kidnap outlines the disgusting history of foster kid experimentation in our country that has been taking place for at least the past 4 decades, revealing how Fauci and other prominent names, many of whom are still in their positions even under President Donald Trump, continue to abuse foster children left and right in the name of promoting public health. Because foster children do not have parents around to vie for them and protect their interests, evil entities in government see them as easy targets to be exploited for political and financial gain. In states where cannabis is still illegal, as one prominent example, children can be taken away from their parents following drug charges and given over to the state, which it does with them as it sees fit, often subjecting them to big pharma experimentation. Organizations that advocate for the rights of parents to make decisions regarding their children's health care are finding that foster children in CPS custody are being enrolled in drug experiments without parental approval. Medical Kidnap reported back in 2015, linking what was brought to light back then to what is now occurring with the new experimental vax for the Wuhan CV19. State Child Protective Services are enrolling children in drug experiments without parental approval or court orders. However, those who conduct these drug experiments for pharmaceutical companies and those who are charged with monitoring such research do not see a problem with their recruitment methods. Fauci's medical experiments on children are akin to Mengel's medical experiments on Nazi prisoners of war. Back in 2005, a hearing was held by the U.S. House of Representatives entitled Protections for Foster Children Enrolled in Clinical Trials, which looked at whether or not adequate safeguards were in place to protect foster children from being exploited in such manner. They looked specifically at a clinical trial on AIDS drugs that were conducted beginning as far back as the 1980s and that lasted throughout at least 2001. What was uncovered but not actually dealt with included evidence of malfeasance against innocent children who were none the wiser as to what was going on and powerless to defend themselves against it, even if they did. How Fauci fits into all of this is that he was in charge of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases back then, just like he still is today. And the NIAID, in partnership with the pharmaceutical industry, was exposed as having exploited hundreds of foster children from the Incarnation Children's Center in New York City as well as from elsewhere by subjecting them to experimental AIDS vaccines that never actually came to market. Can you imagine what they put in those kids? I can't imagine it. I don't want to. It's horrible. Years later, in separate investigations, 13,878 children were discovered to have been made subject of the same fate during the 1980s and 1990s in 6 other states: Illinois, Louisiana, Maryland, North Carolina, Colorado, and Texas. Medical Kidnap further reported about similar foster child experimentation rings that were uncovered elsewhere in the country. This type of thing is eerily similar to what took place back in Nazi Germany under Adolf Hitler and his angel of death officer and physician, Josef Mengele, who, just like Fauci is doing today, experimenting on innocent children by giving them dangerous, untested drugs without consent. Same people who experimented on foster children with dangerous AIDS vaxes now being given money by Trump to develop CV vaxes. Investigative journalism Liam Sheff is credited with exposing much of this back in 2004, and more details have come to light implicating the medical deep state for committing many other heinous atrocities against innocent children. And once again, Fauci has long overseen and allowed it to happen, just as he's still doing today with the push for new, experimental Wuhan CV vaxes. Some in Congress have tried to address the issue and supposedly root it out of the system, but to no avail. It still persists today, and the very same people who engaged in those crimes against humanity in the past are doing so once again, thanks to large cash infusions from the Trump administration. I'm not trying to get into that part of it. I don't care who gave them the money. The point is, what they're doing is horrible. The moral of the story is that despite all of his drain the swamp rhetoric, Trump has done very little to stop this madness. While he is limited by constitutional bounds that govern his rule, he does have the power to get rid of these swamp creatures in his administration and stop hiring new ones, which begs the question, when will he finally start doing this? Having failed at their attempts to develop DNA-altering vaxes for HIV/AIDS, the same group of people are now collecting billions of dollars of U.S. funding to help a CV DNA-altering vax. Shilhavy explains about how it is just more of the same under Trump. It is. It's because they're all in on it together, okay? They did this stuff back in the 80s and the 90s. How horrible is this? They were doing the same thing then, and now they're doing it again, and they're getting away with it. And yes, they collect billions of dollars. I've done videos on that. It's insane how many hundreds of billions of dollars are put into these vax developments. It looks a lot like the same playbook, only this time it is on warp speed for fast tracking, and instead of using fresh fetal tissue to create humanized mice, they have the FDA's approval to conduct trial on humans with no animal testing first. What will be the results? Horrible. That's what the results will be. So I went to check this article out. I wanted to, dig a little bit more. Let's see if I can find any more information. And I came across this. From CBS News, it says, AIDS drug tested on foster kids. This is from 2005. Government-funded researchers tested AIDS drugs on hundreds of foster children over the past 2 decades, often without providing them a basic protection afforded in federal law and required by some states, an Associated Press review has found. The research funded by the National Institutes of Health spanned the country. It was most widespread in the 1990s as foster care agencies sought treatments for their HIV-infected children that weren't yet available in the marketplace. And that didn't come available, most of them, they said. So that means even they are saying it's not safe. The practice ensured that foster children, mostly poor or minority, received care from world-class researchers at government expense, slowing their rate of death and extending their lives, but it also exposed a vulnerable population to the risk of medical research and drugs that were known to have serious side effects in adults and for which the safety for children was unknown. Can you believe that? How evil is this world? They know what they're testing on them is going to harm them, and they're doing it anyways. That is their plan. And then I kept going and I found this, from 2004. says HIV foster babies, children used to test safety of experimental drugs. NY Post, back in 2004, February 29th. HIV foster babies, children used to test safety on experimental drugs. As a society, we need to be concerned that too many within the medical research community seem to have abandoned the foremost principle of medical ethics: first, do no harm. The latest evidence of medical research gone awry was uncovered by the New York Post. It involves foster care children diagnosed with HIV. The most vulnerable, disadvantaged children are being exploited by powerful entities and used as guinea pigs, as if they were not human beings. The tragedy and the shame of it is that powerful institutions, including federal, state, and New York City agencies and the medical research centers, have lost their sight of their human, their professional, and their public responsibility to protect the best interest of children who have been entrusted to foster care. Instead, children entrusted to their care have been exploited as a means for others' end. When all the facts about the scope of this non-consensual experiment are uncovered, the Tuskegee syphilis scandal will be pale by comparison. I will leave a link in the description to all three of these. I want to cut it here because I want to upload this and see if YouTube instantly blocks it. So I want to upload it right now, let you get this information and, share this information. If they were doing this all back in the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s, think about how bad they're doing it right now. People need to wake up. And they need to wake up fast. We are running out of time. Things are happening so fast and happening so bad that it is just, you have to right now hit your knees if you haven't. Hit your knees, ask for forgiveness, and just completely trust your faith and trust in the Lord, because if you don't, we are going to be subject to this evil world. And I don't want that for any of you. I hope you all have a great day today. Continue to share this information. We will continue to spread the truth one way or another. I'll talk to you all soon. God bless.